Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is Manoj Singh Rana, and with me is Aditi Lumba, bringing glimpses of major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring for you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. In this edition, we celebrate the youth of the nation through their icon, Swami Vivekanand, on his birth anniversary. As the world fights the COVID-19 pandemic, we begin the program with a message of caution to stay safe and protected by following these three simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain social distancing, and focus on hand and face hygiene. The headlines. Preparations in India on track for the COVID-19 vaccine rollout across the country from 16th of January. New farm laws put on hold by the Supreme Court of India until further orders. 4-member committee formed to resolve impasse. Malaysia declares a state of emergency in the country amidst a surge in coronavirus infections. Terrorism continues to be the gravest threat to mankind, says India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. And 12 top curated films lined up in the Kaleidoscope segment at 51st edition of IFFI in Goa. The nationwide rollout of COVID-19 vaccinations in India is on course, with several states receiving their first consignment of the coronavirus vaccinations today. Several states, including Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Odisha, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Karnataka, Telangana, Assam and Nagaland have received their consignments. The vaccination of the target groups in these states will start from 16th of January. In the first phase, health workers and frontline workers will be vaccinated. The number is around 30 million. In the second phase, 300 million are scheduled to be inoculated. These include people over 50 years of age and with comorbidities like diabetes, high blood pressure, heart diseases, etc. Meanwhile, India's Health Ministry has said that the central government is maintaining close collaboration with states and union territories. All preparations are on the track for the launch of the world's largest COVID-19 vaccination drive. The vaccine rollout will begin from 16th of January. Addressing the media in New Delhi today, Union Health Secretary Rajesh Bhushan said that during vaccination, healthcare workers will be on the top priority, followed by frontline workers and prioritized age groups. Cost of healthcare workers and frontline workers will be borne by the central government. 2 COVID-19 vaccines, Covishield and Covaxin, have received emergency use authorization and both have established their safety and immunogenicity through a well-prescribed regulatory process. He said there are 4 other COVID-19 vaccines which will be manufactured in India and will be available soon.
उसके अलावा ये 4 वैक्सीन हैं जो या तो भारत में ही जिनका रिसर्च और डेवलपमेंट हुआ है या जो भारत में मैन्युफैक्चर किए जाएंगे वो भी पाइपलाइन में हैं और शीघ्र ही उपलब्ध होने की संभावना है। पहली वैक्सीन है जाइडस कैडिला की वैक्सीन स्पुतनिक वी गमालिया इंस्टीट्यूट रशिया के द्वारा विकसित की गई वैक्सीन है। बायोलॉजिकल इवांस ये हैदराबाद में आधारित कंपनी है। जीनोवा ये पुणे में आधारित कंपनी है। तो यहाँ हम आपको ये बताना चाहते हैं कि आने वाले कुछ महीनों में आप इन 4 वैक्सीन्स को या हो सकता है इनमें से कुछ वैक्सीन्स को भी देखेंगे कि ये नेशनल रेगुलेटर के पास जाएंगे और उनसे अनुरोध करेंगे कि इनको भी इमरजेंसी यूज ऑथराइजेशन जो प्रिस्क्राइब्ड प्रोसेस है उसको फॉलो करते हुए कंसिडर की जाए।
Mr. Bhushan said the emphasis is on communication activities to create an encouraging environment that vaccines are safe and immunogenic. He said the gap between the 2 doses of vaccines will be 28 days. It is only after the 14 days of receiving second dose the effectiveness begins, and it is also imperative to maintain COVID-appropriate behavior.
On the other hand, COVID-19 active cases continue to decline steadily in the country. Daily new cases have touched a new low today at 2,16,558. The Health Secretary said the COVID-19 situation is still worrisome across the world as the graph of active cases is climbing in USA, UK, Brazil, Russia and South Africa. Niti Aayog member Dr. V.K. Paul said that both the vaccines, Covishield and Covaxin, have been tested on thousands of people and there should be no doubt about their safety. He also informed that the Indian Medical Association has decided to accept and support these two indigenously developed vaccines. He encouraged a positive media atmosphere about the vaccination drive. The World Health Organization (WHO) team of international experts to investigate the origin of the novel coronavirus will arrive in the Chinese city of Wuhan from Singapore on Thursday. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Zhao Liqian informed the media at a regular news briefing in Beijing on Tuesday. However, he did not respond to a question on whether the team would have to go into quarantine upon arrival and gave no further details on the mission's itinerary. Ahead of the team's visit, China has been trying to change the narrative that the pandemic broke out in a wet market in Wuhan. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi said more and more studies showed it emerged in multiple regions. WHO Chief Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus has said his organization looked forward to working with China on the mission to identify the source of the virus and how it entered the human population. He had earlier expressed disappointment when the experts were denied entry earlier in the month, forcing two members of the team to turn back.
The COVID-19 vaccination program in Bangladesh will start in the first week of February. Director General of the Health Services, Professor Abul Bashar Mohammad Khurshid Alam, told in Dhaka that the vaccine from India will arrive in Bangladesh from January 21st to 25th. The vaccination will start 1 week after the arrival of vials from India. 50 lakh people will be vaccinated in the first phase. The second shot of the vaccine will be given 8 weeks after the first dose. The vaccine will be provided free of cost to people. A tripartite agreement was signed on December the 13th between the Bangladesh government, Beximco Pharmaceuticals Limited and the Serum Institute of India for the supply of 3 crore vaccines developed by the University of Oxford and AstraZeneca to Bangladesh. Malaysia's King Al Sultan Abdullah has declared a state of emergency across the country on Tuesday after consenting to a request from Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin. The move is aimed at curbing the spread of COVID-19, which has seen a spike in cases in the country recently. In a statement, Al Sultan Abdullah stated that the spread of COVID-19 is at a critical stage and that there is a need to declare a proclamation of emergency. An emergency would give the Prime Minister and his cabinet extraordinary powers, including allowing the government to introduce laws without the approval of Parliament.
Portugal's President Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa has positive tested for COVID-19 on Monday. A statement from the President's office said that he has so far shown no symptoms. In a statement shared on his official website, Mr. Sousa's office said the President has already informed Prime Minister Antonio Costa and Health Minister Marta Temido of the situation. Mr. Sousa is seeking a second term as President as the nation heads to polls on the 24th of January. This is All India Radio giving you the world news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
3 steps to stay protected and stay safe from COVID-19. Wear face mask, 2 gaz ki doori to maintain social distancing, maintain hand and face hygiene.
India's Supreme Court has put a stay on the implementation of the 3 farm laws until further orders. It has also set up a 4-member committee of agriculture experts to facilitate talks between the centre and farmers' unions to resolve the impasse. The Apex Court said it was trying to resolve the problem in the best way and had the power to suspend the laws. The bench, headed by Chief Justice of India S.A. Bopde and comprising Justices A.S. Bopanna and V. Ramasubramanian, said those genuinely interested in finding a solution would appear before the committee. The bench was hearing a batch of petitions regarding the constitutional validity of 3 farm laws passed by Parliament and a plea to disperse the protesting farmers. The bench said it is concerned about the validity of the laws and also about protecting the life and property of citizens affected by the agitation. The Chief Justice said that the committee will not pass an order or punish and submit a report to the Supreme Court. He said the committee is the judicial process in this case.
External Affairs Minister of India, Dr. S. Jaishankar, said that the UN Security Council Resolution 1373, adopted in the wake of the 9/11 US terror attacks, reminds us that terrorism continues to be the gravest threat to mankind. Dr. Jaishankar was speaking at the UN Security Council's observation of the 20th anniversary of the adoption of the resolution. He said that linkages between terrorism, transnational, organized crime must be fully recognized and addressed vigorously. We in India have seen the crime syndicate responsible for the 1993 Mumbai bomb blast not just given state protection but actually enjoying five-star hospitality. Dr. Jaishankar said that the international community should call out and hold accountable those states who willfully support terrorist finances and offer terrorist safe havens. He also highlighted the aggravation of the threat of terrorism during the times of Covert. The minister underlined that adequate funding to the UN counter-terrorism bodies from the regular budget of the UN requires immediate attention. The minister enunciated proposals to comprehensively address the challenge of terrorism, said that India has been at the forefront of global counter-terrorism efforts.
We must reform the working methods of the committees dealing with sanctions and counter-terrorism. Transparency, accountability, and effectiveness are the need of the day. The practice of placing blocks and holds on listing requests without any rhyme or reason must end. This only erodes our collective credibility. Fourth, we must firmly discourage exclusivist thinking that divides the world and harms our social fabric. Such approaches facilitate radicalization and recruitment by breeding fear, mistrust, and hatred among different communities. The Council should be on guard against new terminologies and false priorities that can dilute our focus. 5. Enlisting and delisting individuals and entities under the UN sanctions regime must be done objectively, not for political or religious considerations. Proposals in this regard merit due examination before circulation.
India's Army Chief, General Manoj Narvane, on Tuesday said that a broad roadmap has been prepared to bring in all the new technologies to develop a technology-enabled army to meet challenges of future. Speaking on the issue of terrorism at the annual press conference, the Army Chief said Pakistan continues to embrace terrorism and is using it as an instrument of state policy.
Pakistan continues to embrace terror and terrorism as an instrument of state policy. However, we are very clear that we have zero tolerance for terror and we reserve our right to respond at a time and place of our own choosing and with precision. And this is a clear message that we have sent across, that we will not tolerate any such kind of activity.
He said India has zero tolerance for cross-border terrorism and reserves the right to respond with precision. General Narvane said this is a clear message that we have sent across. The Army Chief added the last year was full of challenges and the main challenge was COVID-19 and the situation at the northern borders. General Narvane said India maintained a high state of alertness all along the northern borders and hoping for a peaceful solution. On this issue of Chinese aggression at the Ladakh region of the Line of Actual Control, LAC, the Indian Army Chief asserted that they are ready to meet any eventuality.
It is not only eastern Ladakh, but we have maintained a high state of alertness all along our northern borders. And as of now, keeping the threat perception in mind, we have gone in for our winter posture and our winter deployment. But as I said, we are alert and ever ready to meet any challenges. 8 rounds of talks between the corps commanders have taken place. We are now awaiting for the dates for the 9th round of talks, and I'm sure that through dialogue and discussion, we will be able to reach an amicable solution.
Meanwhile, India's Chief of Defence Staff, General Bipin Rawat, visited forward areas of Ladakh on the second day of his visit and reviewed the operational preparedness. The CDS was briefed by local commanders on the prevailing operational situation. In a tweet, the Indian Army said that he also interacted with the troops deployed in forward areas and appreciated their high morale and motivation in defending the territorial integrity of the nation.
India's Defence Secretary Dr. Ajay Kumar today co-chaired the 13th India-Vietnam Defence Security Dialogue along with his Vietnamese co-chairs Senior Lieutenant General Nguyen Xin Nguyen, Deputy Defence Minister of Vietnam. During virtual interaction, both of them expressed satisfaction at the ongoing defence cooperation between the two countries in spite of the limitations imposed by COVID-19. During the interaction, Defence Secretary and the Deputy Defence Minister exchanged views on the plan of action that has emanated from the recently concluded virtual summit between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Prime Minister of Vietnam, Nguyen Phuc, in December 2020. New areas of defence cooperation were also discussed. Both the sides expressed commitment to further elevate engagements between the armed forces under the framework of comprehensive strategic partnership. Noting strides in defence industry and technology cooperation, both sides concurred that they look forward to even greater cooperation in this field. The Kuwaiti government ministers tendered their resignations en masse to Prime Minister Sheikh Sabah Al-Khalid on Tuesday. The Ministry of Information made the announcement through its Twitter handle. The official Kuna news agency says the move came in light of the ongoing developments in the relations between the government and the parliament, known as the National Assembly, and what the national interest dictates. The current parliament of Kuwait was elected in December 2020.
President of the United States of America, Mr. Donald Trump, on Monday declared that an emergency exists in the District of Columbia and ordered federal assistance. A statement from the White House cited the emergency conditions resulting from the 59th presidential inauguration from January 11th to January 24th, 2021. The statement read that the President's action authorizes the Department of Homeland Security, Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, to coordinate all disaster relief efforts. District Columbia, or Washington, D.C., is the seat of power of the U.S., which saw chaotic developments last week. Observers have termed it as an insurrection at Capitol Hill. The U.S. State Department has designated Cuba as a state sponsor of terrorism on Monday. In a statement issued by the U.S. State Department said that Cuba has repeatedly provided support for acts of international terrorism in granting safe harbor to terrorists. The designation subjects Cuba to sanctions that penalize persons and countries engaging in certain trade with Cuba. It restricts U.S. foreign assistance, bans defense exports and sales, and imposes certain controls on exports of dual-use items.
United States has imposed sanctions on 7 Russian individuals and 4 entities alleged to be a part of a Russia-linked foreign influence network associated with Andrei Durkak. A statement from the U.S. State Department said Mr. Durkak has attempted to influence the 2020 U.S. presidential election. It added that Durkak, a member of the Ukrainian parliament, has been an active Russian agent for more than a decade, maintaining close connections with Russian intelligence services. The statement further read that the designated individuals and entities have made repeated public statements advancing malicious narratives that U.S. government officials have engaged in corrupt dealings in Ukraine. Social networking app Parler has filed a lawsuit against Amazon's web services on Monday. The e-commerce giant had decided to remove the app from its web hosting platform allegedly for its popularity among the far right-wing activists who had violent clashes with the police in Capitol Hill last week. Parler has filed a suit alleging antitrust and breach of contract. The company is reportedly seeking a temporary restraining order to prevent Amazon from removing Parler from its servers.
The International Film Festival of India today announced the lineup of films for its festival Kaleidoscope. The section will feature 12 curated films from across the world for their cinematic excellence. Alex Piperno's Window Boy would also like to have a submarine from Uruguay. Colombia's Forgotten Will Be by director Fernando Trueba. Filmmaker Mona Dayal's Iraqi drama Haifa Street. We Still Have the Deep Black Night by Gustavo Galvao, and director Mantas Kevedivikas Parthenon, Lithuania, will also be screened in this segment. Other features include Greece's entry for the Best International Film at the 93rd Academy Awards, Apples by Christos Nikou, Stephanie Tuat and Veronique Raymond's My Little Sister, Dani Rosenberg's Israeli title The Death of Cinema and My Father Too, and Valley of the Gods by Lech Majaski from Poland.
On September 11, 1893, a young man from India stepped up to the dais at the First World's Parliament of Religions in Chicago and began his speech by enunciating Sisters and Brothers of America. This warm address was met with a rousing reception from the audience. The young man was Swami Vivekanand. Prime Minister Narendra Modi remembered Swami Vivekanand on his birth anniversary today. Mr. Modi said, in thought and action, Swami Vivekanand personified the best of India's culture and ethos. He said that Vivekanand has unwavering faith in Indian youth.
पूरी दुनिया को भारत का परिचय दी। उनके पास वेदांत का अगाध ज्ञान था, उनके पास एक विजन था। वो जानते थे कि भारत दुनिया को क्या दे सकता है। वो भारत के विश्व बंधुत्व के संदेश को लेकर दुनिया में गए। भारत के सांस्कृतिक वैभव को, विचारों को, परंपराओं को उन्होंने दुनिया के सामने रखा, गौरवपूर्ण तरीके से रखा।
Today's Hotspot segment is dedicated to the youth icon, that is Swami Vivekanand. Let us listen to the excerpts from the National Security Advisor Ajit Doval's address at the Swami Vivekanand Memorial Lecture at GNU earlier today. Mr. Doval in his address speaks about the genesis of Swami Vivekanand's now famous words, "Arise, awake and stop, not till the goal is reached." These words were uttered when India was under the throes of a colonial power as a clarion call to the youth.
What was happening to India was distressing, but what had happened to its patriotic zeal, to its self-confidence, to its lofty spirit was pathetic. Swami Vivekanand is unique because he realized it. As a young man with no resources and few supporters, he plunged himself in the battleground to awaken the sleeping India. It is in this backdrop that Swami Vivekanand India gave the clarion call, and I quote, "Arise, awake and stop, not until the goal is reached," unquote.
Swami Vivekanand had a rich, inspiring view of patriotism. Mr. Doval reminds the youth of India his higher ideal and vision of patriotism and humanity.
His passion for the country impelled him to shake the conscience of every Indian. He asked them, "Do you love your country? And if yes, then come, let us struggle for higher and better things. Look not back, not even if you see your dearest and nearest cry. Only a man of his spiritual stature, indomitable will, passion for the country, and love for humanity could achieve what he did. He made multitude of Indians believe in themselves and take responsibility of their destiny that ultimately led to India's independence from a tyrant colonial rule."
Mr. Doval also talks about the guiding spirit that Swami Vivekanand was for Indians. He illuminates the enrapturing effect that he had through his words on his critical section of the society.
Swami Vivekanand was able to fathom the real state of India's miserable existence. He told them not only where you are, but also who you are. Like a good instructor of map reading, he wanted the Indians to understand and internalize their position on the map. Let them know their weaknesses, let them know their infirmities, let them know their inhibitions, and also their strengths. So he made them realize both their strengths and their weaknesses. Secondly, he made them realize what was their goal. He tried to give them the confidence and ability to think big. He gave them the goal of a strong, powerful India, free from all shackles. But his most important contribution was his guidance, how to bring about transformation.
Swami Vivekanand was above all else a visionary. In his address, he talks about Vivekanand's vision for the nation and the role of the youth.
His vision of India was that of transformed society inspired by dignity, freedom, and individual excellence, deeply rooted in strength, love, and service. He exhorted the youth to focus their individual and collective energies to build a strong and powerful India. He particularly talked about the unity of the society.
The first delegation-level virtual police chiefs dialogue between the police chiefs of India and Bangladesh was held today virtually. The two delegations discussed ongoing bilateral cooperation, issues of mutual concern, and the way forward. Designated nodal points would be established to respond to existing as well as emerging security and counter-terrorism challenges. Both sides agreed to enhance their work jointly against terrorist entities, including the global terrorist groups, as well as other fugitives wherever they are present and active. The scope of enhanced coordination to combat trans-border criminal activities, including smuggling of drugs, fake Indian currency notes, arms and ammunition, and human trafficking, was also discussed. 22 million in lockdown as several Chinese provinces hit by COVID-19. China is stepping up measures to contain a possible widespread coronavirus outbreak. In areas surrounding capital Beijing, with Langfang city in Hebei province put under lockdown on Tuesday. Beijing also shut highways from the neighboring province amid rising infections. In total, about 22 million people in 3 cities, Shijiazhuang, Xingtai and Langfang of Hebei province, neighboring the capital Beijing, have been placed under COVID-19 lockdown as on Tuesday. Vehicles and people in the 3 cities are not allowed to leave unless necessary, Hebei authorities said at a news briefing on Tuesday. Since January 2nd, the Hebei province has reported a total of 326 COVID-19 cases as on Tuesday and 234 asymptomatic carriers. The majority of the new cases have been recorded in the provincial capital, Shijiazhuang, which went into wartime mode on Friday to contain the virus's spread.
In Leh, the first ever ice climbing festival was celebrated in Nubra Valley. The 7-day event was organized by Nubra Adventure Club. Ice climbing is a popular winter sport abroad. Taking the cue, local adventure sports lovers have explored several ice climbing spots in Nubra Valley to attract the adventure tourists to the region. More from our Leh correspondent.
To promote winter tourism in Nubra Valley, Nubra Adventure Club, with the help of social activist Dr. Nordan Odzer, has organized a 7-day ice climbing festival. Trainer Rigvin Sewang said Nubra has the potential to be the ice climbing capital in Himalayas. Time record holder of Mount Everest, Honorable Captain Sering Angchuk, said that festivals would encourage the youth from Nubra to summit many unscaled peaks in Ladakh by the locals. The locals are hoping that with the operation of Toys Airport in Nubra under Udan scheme, the Valley of Sand Dunes would be another destination of all seasons for the tourists and adventure sport lovers. 18 participants across Nubra Valley, including 4 women, have taken part in ice climbing. Ramesh Chandra, All India Radio News, Leh.
Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. The Los Angeles Times reports that Indonesia Navy divers hunt for crash planes' black boxes. The Sriwijaya airjet had nosedived into the water under the weekend with 62 people aboard. Wall Street Journal reports that Parler, the social media platform favored by Trump fans, struggles for survival. UK-based Guardian reports that Deutsche Bank joins companies cutting ties with Donald Trump. The Globe and Mail reports Kuwaiti ministers resign en masse as Emir faces first big challenge.
Moving on to sports, according to a Kyodo News poll, about 80% of people in Japan say this year's Tokyo Olympics should be cancelled or delayed as worries mount about a record surge in coronavirus cases across the country on Sunday. In cricket, Cricket Australia apologised to the Indian team on Sunday and launched a probe into allegations visiting players were subjected to racial abuse at Sydney Cricket Ground. And now let's take a look at the headlines once again. Preparations in India on track for the COVID-19 vaccine rollout across the country from 16th of January. New farm laws put on hold by the Supreme Court of India. 4-member committee formed to resolve the impasse. Malaysia declares a state of emergency in the country amidst a surge in coronavirus infections. Terrorism continues to be the gravest threat to mankind, says India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. And 12 top curated films lined up in the Kaleidoscope segment at the 51st edition of IFFI in Goa. India is celebrating the 151st birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Before we end, let us listen to his favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Cyprus.
So
And with that, we end this bulletin. See you at same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.